Hello everyone, welcome to another live hangout. Hello to everyone who's already in the chat, and it's so good to be hanging out with you all for what will be our second last show for 2021. And it's been a wild ride, hasn't it been? No matter where we are on the globe, 2021 in many respects was kind of a continuation of 2020, but it's good to be getting to the end of it. And yeah, we've only got one more show next week here at Voice Essentials. For those of you who have joined me for so many years now here in the live show, you know that we take December and January off. Now, that does not mean that there won't be any new videos coming out from me. I will still have a weekly pre-record video that will go every single week over that 2-month period over December and January, and so you are not going to miss out. I will still be in contact with you over that time, but it does just give us a little bit of a breather from the live show. It gives Linda, the wonderful Linda, a chance to have a bit of a break. She does such a fantastic job, as I know you all agree, as our moderator, and last week she had a work cut out for her, which we'll talk about in a second. But anyway, yeah, second last show for the year. Hey, if you missed it, last week's show with Professor Brian Gill was, look, I'm just going to say it was outstanding. And it was such a lively, energized discussion around the misconceptions of voice and how often, you know, the clickbait, that headline that we often will see in our Facebook feed or here on YouTube with the thumbnails, you know, and often the devil's in the detail. It's often when you dig down into you know, these ideas that get thrown out there by some people that you start to go, hang on a second, that doesn't kind of work in practice. Anyway, we had a great discussion with Professor Brian Gill last week. After today's show, I strongly recommend that you go and have a watch of that if you missed it. It was a tremendous show. I have got we're going to do a Q&A today. But before we get to a Q&A, I want to give you a special early bird insight, an early bird opportunity. For those of you who watch the live show, you know, you are my community, and I wanted to sort of give you a special early bird. This is some information I'm not sending out to my email list until Friday this week, because as you know, this weekend is Black Friday sales on the Friday, is it the 26th, I think, and Cyber Monday on the 29th. So what I have decided to do, and I've kind of been prepping you in the lead up to this for the last few weeks, I am doing a massive store-wide sale of 50% off. Now, the reason I say I'm giving you an early bird is because I'm going to give you, let me show you, I am going to give you the coupon code, and I'll show you what it is. That coupon code that you can see on your screen right now, that coupon code, Black Friday, if you go to voiceessentials.com.au, every single product will be 50% off. Black Friday 50. Now you might say to yourself, well, that's cool. What does that mean? That literally means, let me show you what that means. Oh, hang on a second. I don't want that. I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and then I want to do this. So what that does is, this is voiceessentials.com.au. For those of you who have never visited it before, this is what it looks like. So when you go to voiceessentials.com.au, because I'm in Australia, any single one of my courses, any of the exercise collections, the manuals, anything will be 50% off, literally from this moment right through until the end of Monday next week. Now, I'll show you what that means and how you can take advantage of it, because you can literally save big dollars. I don't normally talk about the products, you know, at length, and here on the show we get right into business with our special guests and whatever, but I do want to let you know about this because I've never done a sale like this before. So, and I want you to save some money because I know you're great supporters of the channel. So if you go to the site, and if you, let's say we come all the way down, you can get to these via other means, but let's say you come to this, and let's say we see how we've got Dr. Dan's Pro Bundle there. Now, the Pro Bundle, when we go to the Pro Bundle, usually it's $497 Australian, which is still, for the 3 courses, is still really, really very good. And you get all 3 courses and away you go. But if you click here, let's say we click on single payment and we click on there, that'll take us to the checkout. Now, all you've got to do to get your 50% off is if you you click on have a coupon and you type in Black Friday 50. Have I typed that correctly? I have. And you hit apply. You can now get the Pro Bundle for basically, well, it's not basically, it's half price. You can get all 3 courses for $248.50 Australian. It's a massive saving, like off the charts saving. And so if you've been thinking to yourself, gee, I'd really like to, you know, get into that, but it seems, you know, I don't have quite that. Now is the time to save big, and away you go. You jump in and you just start your journey of learning. So many people, and I encourage those of you who are in the live chat right now, for those of you who are in the live chat and you are already enrolled, let people know how much this course has meant to you in the development of your voice, because I know I get so many messages from all of you telling me just how beneficial these courses have been. And so 50% off, I'm letting you know early so that you've got, you know, the rest of the week to make some decisions and collect the dollars and get yourself started. This is a great way to set yourself up for the new year so that you can really start your journey. Now, when you buy the courses, it is a lifetime unlimited enrollment, and so you don't have to, you know, complete it all in 12 months or what have you. You can enroll now, and you could even, you know, wait until the new year if you wanted to sort of hit the new year running. You could wait until the new year, start the new year fresh, but you'll have saved yourself some really big dollars. And so that special will end at the end of Cyber Monday, which will be basically Tuesday next week. Remember, Monday, I'm ahead of most of you. Most of you are watching from the Northern Hemisphere. I saw Kelly saying, that it's really cold in Alberta at the moment. So most of you are in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm in the Southern Hemisphere. So you kind of got to be ahead of the game. Don't miss this opportunity. I really encourage you. I have not run a sale like this all year. I won't be running another one this year. There won't be any Christmas specials. Certainly not as far as I am aware. And so I want you to take full advantage of it. But of course, you don't have to do the Pro Bundle. If you wanted to do, for example, just Voice Essentials 1, then you'll get that for 50% off. And so again, it's store-wide. Black Friday, it's written in the description section below, but just in case you missed it, there it is again, the coupon code ready, and you can just apply that when whatever product you get. I hope you didn't mind that little sales pitch, because, you know, wanted to let you all know so that you get in early. So next week's our last show. That means our first show for 2022 will be Monday, the 7th of Feb. So it's there's a little bit of time between now and when I will see you. Well, I'll see you next week, but we take that 2 months off, and over the Christmas period, because here in Australia, our main holiday period is over the summer break as well, so that's going to be good to do. But as I said, those pre-record videos are going to come out every week, but the way to see those is to hit the subscribe button, hit the white bell icon so you're notified every new release of the video, and you won't miss a trick. It was Kate, Mackenzie Kate, who reminded me it's Thanksgiving this week in the US. Happy Thanksgiving to every one of you who are in the US. This Thursday, the 25th of November, a very special Thanksgiving. I hope you all are able to spend it with family and friends and with your loved ones. And did you? It's 33 days till Christmas, which is kind of wow. The year has flown by, yeah, so that's kind of cool. So many of you in the live chat. Hello to Alyssa. I spent time with Alyssa in her private lesson this morning, and I can see Brian and Linda and Surat too. Wicca is with us. Jackson Mania. Remember, for you to ask a question, I'm going to get to your questions now. For you to ask a question, you do have to subscribe, and then it takes, if you're a new subscriber, it will take you about 5 minutes to be able to ask a question. There has been the question as why do we do that? Well, last week, if you were in the live chat, you would have seen someone who had decided that they weren't, they weren't playing nicely, let's put it that way. And so, but they were obviously quite passionate enough about their views that they decided to subscribe anyway. And so what the subscribe before you chat or comment does is it limits the amount of trolling. And basically the gentleman that was with us last week was trolling, and so we do try to limit people. And then, as you know, Linda has my full backing, full permission that, and this is what happened last week, we removed all of the comments from that individual. And so, Linda has got the wisest head on her, and we talk about these issues quite frequently. And I know that she's able to make really astute decisions about comments that are not appropriate, are not necessary, are unwarranted, are trolling. And so, if you get put into timeout, then, take the slap on the wrist. But generally we don't have a problem. And most of you play nicely. Because this is a encouraging community. If you feel you have a different views are welcome. We encourage, appropriate discussion. But I think most of us know when that turns. Don't touch the wasabi; it has turned. Just be mindful of that in your discussion. And the only reason I'm raising it is because, as I said last week in the live chat, and I think you all, for those of you in the live chat, I think you're probably all aware of what was going on. We are very careful with those sorts of things. So if you do want to ask a question, because I'm going to get to your questions right now, the way to do that is to subscribe and then wait 5 minutes, and then you can start asking your questions. And if you are absolutely, positively, you must have your question answered, then the way to get that done is to put in a super chat, add a few dollars to your question, and we will prioritize, when I say we, Linda and I will prioritize your question to make sure it gets answered. And that way, as a special thank you for the super chat, and that way your question gets bumped up the list. Because more often than not, we have far too many questions to answer, and today looks like it may not be any different. But I think that's enough for now. Let's let's jump in and answer your questions. Okay, so Nathan is first cab off the rank. Nathan Ratley has asked, "Hi Doc, hope all is well." All is well, Nathan. It's you know, the end of the year. I'm a bit of a list person, Nathan, and so you know I like ticking things off my list, and I'm doing quite well with that this year. I think I'm going to end the year having completed my list. You know how good that feeling is. Hi Doc, hope all is well. I just started performing again after 25 years. Awesome. I'm going okay, but will it take some time to strengthen my vocal cords, muscles? I have moments of vocal fatigue. Yeah, Nathan, it will. You are right to sort of, you know, think about this in the zone of vocal fatigue. We have to balance vocal fatigue against our technique, because there are appropriate levels of fatigue that can be expected within the voice when we use the voice. Now, this is all often a very individualized kind of thing, because your age is going to play a thing on this. Last week, Brian and I were talking about the fact that the individual themselves, the physiological and biological anatomical makeup of that individual, just like when we think about sports, you know, some people's bodies, their frames are better suited to long distance running, marathons, for example, whereas Usain Bolt runs 100 meters and 200 meters. I think he might have done the 400 meters, but the point being, much shorter distances. You would never expect Usain Bolt to run at an Olympic level over the marathon. He's completely the wrong body shape to do that. Our individual morphologies play a role in the way we use our voice. And I'm not aware of any studies in this area, and would love to know if you are watching and you know of them, so please send them through. But I'd love to read more about studies done in the field of, you know, what we can expect around certain body shapes and in regards to vocal fatigue, vocal use. But you do have to be, this is something that we learn. You know, we learn these things as we go. Talking of learning, I just need to hit that button. So what I would be encouraging you to do, Nathan, is to build over time, build up to your what you expected the voice. This is why, and this is what I'm not being prescriptive with this per se, Nathan, but with a beginner student, I always start them off at 20 minutes every second day. And then after a week or so, we go to 25 minutes every second day, then 30. And we just slowly but surely build up the vocal stamina around the load that the voice is needing to carry. And so I would encourage you to take a not dissimilar approach. If I were, you know, I'm not currently professionally performing, but I can tell you that if I were looking to prepare my voice for load over, you know, for whatever show coming up, I would go about looking to also establish my voice in accordance with the load expected, and do that over time. You know, I wouldn't, you know, just like if you and I were deciding to run a half marathon, 20 kilometers, 22 kilometers, we wouldn't just walk out and start running 22 kilometers. We'd start off probably by running around the block, and then we'd slowly build up until such time as we were match fit, that we're ready for the task that was ahead. And so there is, in one sense, your question around strengthening my vocal cords is that's kind of what we're doing. We're building the capacity of the musculature, not just your vocal folds, but other, body systems to carry that load. Kelly, what my wonderful weekly Friday lesson student, Kelly Morrison's thrown a super chat in there, just pointing out that she'd like to connect and play with other musicians. Any thoughts on how to approach this as someone with no experience and uncertainty around style? Kelly, what I generally recommend to singers who are wanting to, connect with other musicians, obviously you can do it through forums like the Voice Essentials community Facebook page. In fact, one thing I've loved seeing in recent weeks and months within the community is people connecting. Most people are connecting via Shmuel, which is the duo or app where you can sing together, and people within the community are starting to sing with each other. I think that's fabulous, and so that's one way we can connect, and that's more of an online sort of scenario, but often, people are wanting to connect with musicians and what have you. So here in Australia, we often have things called open mic nights, and sometimes they're kind of open mic community events that are not at night; they're in the daytime. In fact, one of my students, Dom, who is often in our live chat, he often pops in late. I see him on a Tuesday. He goes to a Tuesday event where he connects with other musicians. And when we go to these events, we naturally are able to make connection with other like-minded people, and you're able to do it that way. So that's two ideas, Kelly. And I often say to people, don't go with the view in the first instance, the first time you go, to make that connection. See the first few times when you go to these events as, what will be the right way to say it, as a reconnaissance, as an opportunity to, get to know the crowd, get to know the group. I've just thought of a third one. Here in Australia, we've had community groups like country music associations, and they often run sort of chapter events where you can go along to those, and they play country music, in their little community groups, and that can be another great way to, not just for country music but for other things, can be a great way. I know a lot of people use church as an opportunity, and I know, Kelly, that may not be of interest to you, but finding other musicians, you'll often find them in community groups like churches. So, Kelly, we can talk more about that on Friday in your lesson if you like, but that's just some ideas to get you started, and I thank you for your super chat. Dawn BYT, is 19 a good age to start singing from? And then I've seen the thing here. Dawn had to leave the chat early to go to school, so no longer in chat. Okay. So I'll just answer that with a simple yes, Dawn. There is no age limit to this singing thing. We have to learn to work with the voice at different stages in our lives, and different stages, different chapters in our lives have different physiological things going on for ourselves. But certainly you can sing at any age. So Dawn, if you come back to watch the show, we answered your question, and the answer is yes, it is a good age to start, but that's because any age is a good age to start. Surat 2, hi, question for Dan. Does he like Bel Canto? Yeah, it's a funny thing, isn't it? Because these terms get bantied around. Bel Canto, when we break it down in the Italian, means beautiful voice. So, in the literal sense, do I love beautiful singing? Do I love beautiful singing? Of course I do. The the concept. In fact, I've got a whole video on this, Surat, that you can go and have a look at via the YouTube channel. Just go to the videos and just type in the search tab Bel Canto and it will come up. I talk about some reasons why the Bel Canto methodology, the approach, is far more orientated to classical singing than it is for contemporary vocals. There's a whole range of reasons. I'd encourage you to watch that video because I think that will outline it in quite a bit of detail. Can I say, in addition, in fact, I think I say this in the video, but it's not a matter of, for too long we seek to throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to voice. This is not about, you know, right, wrong. It's about what's best suited to the what is task appropriate, what is task specific. And so it's you identifying what kind of singing do you want to do, and then aligning your vocal technique with that, and sort of getting an understanding as to what's going to be best for your voice. And so I would never say I don't like Bel Canto, but I do in that video outline why, as a methodological, ideological approach, it's probably not best for the contemporary vocal. Let's go to another question. Jacosomnia, I hope that's how I pronounce it. What's something, let me come over here. What's something you wish you knew before you started singing? Do you know what? I have just recorded so we've got the big sale on for the next week, right, here at the Voice Essentials. The next moment you'll hear anything highly discussed around Voice Essentials from me is going to be because I'm doing a new course. The new course is Dr. Dan's Singer's Starting Guide. It's a bit of a mouthful. Dr. Dan's Singer's Starting Guide. And that course, brand new, I hope to release it. It's well on its way. I've done all the scripting for it. I'm getting some slides done up, and I'm going to do the recording of the videos in January. We are well on course to release that around about Easter, around about April next year. Now, that course is literally everything I had have known before I set out on my journey to sing. And so Surat, Jacosomnia, I love some of these names. Jacosomnia, that course is going to be so important for you, simply because it is like I put it this way, I can't list it all for you because there's just too much to tell you. But I go into things like vocal anatomy. Do you know how important it is for you to learn about your instrument? It is so important. And when I first started to sing, and this is way back in the 80s, I was like most people. I open my mouth, hope for the best, and whatever came out is whatever came out. And it was half decent, but I had no idea what I was doing. And so learning about vocal anatomy, learning how this works, how this operates, so important. How do I care for it? You know, I've only got one. You've only got one. You know, my guitar, my keyboard, you know, if it breaks, I can buy a new one. If I don't like the one I've got, I can buy a new one. But you can't do that with your voice. Whatever you've got right now, you have to learn to be able to use it, and you need to learn how to take care of it. And you need to, as a result of both of those, learn how to get the most out of it. And so in the course, I go into that. Then we talk about the aesthetic versus function. It's one thing to know how to use it and how to care for it and how to get the best out of it, but But then how do I apply that to achieve aesthetic outcomes, you know, so that it's pleasant to listen to? And we go into all of those things. Jackosomnia, that's going to be one for you to have a watch of, I think. Wicco. Question. Well, I suspected so, Wicco. I just got my first dose of Pfizer vaccine. Good on you, Wicco. Yesterday, should I rest and not sing as much, or is it all right to just go on as usual? Look, this is very much an individual thing. I know that after my first and second dose of the Pfizer, so that was what the vaccination I also had, that I was quite fatigued, and there was no way I was going to be fronting up to singing due to the fatigue that I experienced. So I think you have to kind of roll with it in accordance with what your body feels up to. But can I say, I don't think you'll lose anything, Wicco, by having a day off. You know, just give yourself, having a few days off, give yourself and your body an opportunity to go through the process of developing the immune response to the mRNA, which I believe, which is what the Pfizer is, and just, you know, rest, take it easy, chill out for a few days, and then in my case, it really was only very, very temporary. My fatigue, you know, I was good to go after a couple of days. Whereas I know for some people, their response to not only the Pfizer but others, the AstraZeneca and the Moderna, you know, there's been a little bit more of a significant response, and so they've been a bit sick and what have you. But nonetheless, that's what I would encourage you to do. Kev MC, good to see you in the chat, Kev. How come for me the last note in a line I will get wrong? More often than not, see what I did there? More often than not, the reason our last note goes bad is because the air has started to wane. So we've started to drop that air off. You know, with a good way to think about this is when we think about bagpipes. Bagpipes receive a pretty, you know, bad rap, but I love bagpipes. I know, stop the traffic. Are great, and maybe it's because my heritage is Scottish. Robinson, it sort of makes sense, doesn't it, now that I point it out? Maybe there's some epigenetics where the bagpipes move my very DNA. I don't know, but I love them. When they're played well, it must be said. And I have heard a world-renowned bagpiper play, and I have to say, it moved me. But when bagpipes are not played overly well, you know how you hear that last drone. That the reason we hear that sort of that collapse, if you will, in tone, in note, is because the air pressure has become. We hear the decrease in air pressure, and therefore the note falls off. And I mean, a good bagpiper can stop the note, and it just stops. Whereas, you know, if we hear not so great bagpipe playing, you'll hear that end of drone. That's what happens with our voice, is often, you know, either we'll hear the air die off, or in anticipation of the end of the phrase, Kev, what you'll do is start to pressurize up, and so we get a larynx that is starting to ration, and it'll go sharp. Either way, not ideal. So one of the key things is to develop your breath management in connection with being able to sing longer phrases, and so I'd encourage you to look into that. Sith me with Daddy. Any tips to sing how far I'll be able to go. I can't determine how far you'll go, and neither is it for me to say how far you should go or what your journey should be. But nonetheless, learning to sing is a process. Learning to develop the voice is something that we develop over time, and I would encourage you to be systematic in your development of voice, and you can do that with the Voice Essentials process that I've laid out in all the courses. There is no better time to get the Pro Bundle. All 3 courses that are currently available, 50% off, massive saving. And so that's what I'd be encouraging you to do, or simply start Voice Essentials 1. Just start with 1 and progress from there. But everyone, within reason, with all things being equal, everyone can learn to sing. And when I say within reason, there are some people have physical impairments, allowing for the fact that the vast majority of us can learn to sing. Herbury, I don't know, Hebel. I always give it a shot. I always give it a shot. What's the best thing to do to fix a timbre that is just too soft for the kind of music I like? Does it improve only with age, or is there a way to work on it? Well, in one sense, these things can improve with age. So last week's show, Professor Gill and I were discussing the ossification, and that is that a lot of people do think that their voice has fully matured by the end of puberty. By the time they're 16, 17, they're good to go. And the significant, really observable change does complete with the maturation of the child into an adult during puberty. But then there is an ossification of the voice that takes place through to, depending on which text you read, mid to late 20s, even into the early 30s. And that ossification is where the cartilage actually hardens. So it's still cartilage. So our larynx, our thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, it's all, when we're born and through our primary school years, even through puberty, it's flimsy, like the cartilage in your ear and on the end of your nose. But as we age into, as I said, late 20s, early 30s, that hardens. It becomes harder and more rigid, to the point where it ossifies to the point of becomes as hard as bone. And I was sharing in the show last week that I really noticed a big change. It was in my early 30s that I started to be able to really fully rely on the strength of my apparatus, my voice, my larynx, and it was far more rigorous once I hit my early 30s. And so, you want to, you have to be in accordance with that. I'm just coming back to read your question. Does it improve only with age, or is there a way to work on it? And so we do rely on that a little bit. Is there a way to work on it? Yes, as I just outlined, with being systematic. I think I'm a big advocate for you can certainly develop the voice through the primary school years, through puberty, into adulthood. I'm a great believer in not requiring too much of the apparatus, as in really loading it with heavier repertoire, heavier songs, heavier material. And so, for example, your point about timbre, I'm really into not driving the voice too hard until basically, very late teens, early 20s. So that's something to be mindful of. Correct. Lynn's jumping in there and offering me a correction. Titus, coming down to Titus. Titus Lee has asked, can I get your reaction or response to this? Sing from the inside out versus outside in. It's on the surface of it, that sounds reasonable. I mean, that's very clickbaity. That doesn't mean it's bad. You know, I guess one of the challenges around some of these statements that we read, and I tell you who's really good at these kinds of statements is Mark Baxter. We've had Mark on the show here a number of times, and I've done collab videos with. I think Mark's great. And what he's really clever at, and I see these a lot on Facebook actually, Mark will often share really cleverly worded little adages of wisdom, and that almost has a Mark-esque kind of feel to it. But Mark's often far more implicit in his instruction, because the sing from the inside out versus outside in, yeah, it's very open to interpretation via the filters through which it's received, I think. And so often those kinds of statements are really best backed up with some explanation. You know, here on YouTube, I often come under fire from, I think it's because YouTube is an entertainment space. This is something I am very cognizant of. YouTube is an entertainment space, but it's also an educational space. And so what ends up happening is most people want to watch edutainment. They want their education delivered in an entertaining way. You know, and that can come in a variety of forms. But consequently, you know, when I do videos and my pre-record videos, I often do want to, and I'm very intentional in this, I want you to understand why you're doing what you're doing before you do it. I'm not into creating, what's the right words? Parrots, you know, people who just monkey see, monkey do. I don't want you just to copy me or do it because I said so. I want you to understand the why before you do the how. And so you'll often see in my videos, oh, this guy talks too long. Oh, dearie me, get to the point, you know. I'm not going to stop giving explanations because I think educationally it's important that we understand what's going on. So it's really important that, you know, that we always understand why, you know, what does it mean to sing from the inside out versus the outside in. Well, that could be a range of things, I guess. Titus Lee, I don't know whether that answers your question, but there's a reaction, if we call it that one. We have got, in relationship to question 7, the question was meant to be how to sing, not how far I'll go, from the movie Moana. I'm still confused, Linda. I'm going to let it slide. I'm going to let it slide because we're going to do one more question. Ayesha, I'm not even like a beginner right now. I have no idea about music notes, so could you please advise me what will be the best way for me to practice to make my voice better and smoother for singing before I can actually start good classes or such? Ayesha, quite honestly, remember I was just talking about Dr. Dan's Singer's Starting Guide? The first module in that new course, which it won't go live until, you won't be able to get it until, you know, April next year. But the first module in that course is literally going to say, this is a note. This is when we talk about singing the note, this is what we mean. Ya. This is what it means to have a sharp note. This is what it means to have a flat note. And I literally, from before we start going, ya, I pair it right back to the really simple stuff, Ayesha, because I've heard ones like yourself frustrated that ones like myself, I've fallen into the trap of thinking, well, we're starting at the beginning, yeah. And for many people, that is a sufficient starting point. But for ones like yourself, Ayesha, I've heard you, and this is why I'm doing the course. There is an even earlier starting point that we need to attend to, and so I'm doing that in my new course, which will come out next year. But of course, if you want to save big prior to that, and so if you wanted to really get a big saving on the courses, that you could even buy now and just have them sitting there so that when you do the beginner's starting guide, that you're ready to then start. You get my point. Remember, to do that, you do have to, for the next week, you actually have to visit voiceessentials.com.au for the next week and put in Black Friday 50 to get that really significant saving, 50% off store-wide, and that way you can save yourself a few dollars. Wowzers. Well, there you go. I hope you've enjoyed our hangout today. Second last time for the year. We've got one more show for 2021, and haven't we? It's been a great year this year as far as the show goes. I said a couple of weeks ago, one of my greatest thrills this year with the live show has been to introduce you to so many of my Australian colleagues, and that's probably been one of the highlights for me. To introduce you to so many good people that we have here in Australia, so many great singing teachers, voice specialists who, there is a wealth of stuff for you to watch on my channel, and many of those videos are from the previous live shows that we do every Monday, 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, at least when it's not December, January, because as I said, we're finishing up for the year. Next week, don't forget to subscribe, hit the white bell icon so you don't miss out on next week's show, because I wouldn't want you to miss out. I am very much looking forward to hanging out with you one final time for the year. I hope you have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving for the Thursday, the 25th, everyone, for those of you in the US. I look forward to seeing you next week. I'll catch you again soon.